With the first episode of this series doing so well, let's do another. So while episode 1 was about Arknights, a game that I really enjoyed, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video series, examining the monetization of games, is for game number 2. So for our episode, we're going to be talking about Marvel Contest of Champions, and whether or not it is pay to win. We're taking quite a trip through mobile time for this episode. Marvel Contest of Champions was first released in 2014, making it one of the longest running mobile/live service games on the market. So this one, unlike Arknights, is, well, fully real time. This is kind of one of the early takes on the mobile fighter genre. But don't worry, this is not going to be requiring Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat levels of skill. Instead, the basic gameplay is built on using the touch screen to enact basic combos and specials. Every character in the game is designed around the same basic archetype of having a quick attack, a medium / kind of running dash attack, your heavy attack that you do by holding on the touchscreen for a second, you can block, you can also backstep, which is very important that we'll come back to later, and every character has 3 bars of a special meter. Each bar or each filled point will give you a different special attack. A fully charged meter gives you an uninterruptible, undodgeable cutscene attack. And yes, that will certainly be coming into play later on in this piece. So the story of Contest of Champions, I do like for kind of the comic book hokiness of it, where the entire plot can be summarized as this. A Marvel superhero or villain talks smack about you, saying they are invincible and you will never defeat them. One mission later, you defeat them. Then another one shows up saying, oh, you defeated them, but no, I'm really invincible. Another scene later, you beat them, how is this possible? How could you defeat me? And the cycle continues again and again. All with every variety of Marvel that one can imagine. With the game being over 8 years old, it has definitely borrowed heavily from the rise of the MCU, whatever it's called, and all the TV properties. Whenever a new character or a new property is launched, they're probably going to be put into this game in some way, shape, or form. That also means there are multiple varieties of Captain Americas and Spider-Mans and Hulks and Iron Man's, however we want to find the plural of that. In terms of character designs, the characters are categorized both by a star rarity and a class. The class itself is kind of tied to the character. You have tech, mutants, skills, science, and so on. And there is a very loose rock, paper, scissors formula to it. Now, the star system and rarity we'll come back to in a second, but this is where, of course, the major form of the progression and the kind of gotcha of the game exists. Now, unlike other games, the gotcha is built on not exactly exclusive characters. There are between 1 to 6 star variants of many of the characters, with, of course, the more popular and powerful characters having variants from 2 to 6, and this will define the raw stats they can gain. Now, when we talk about the monetization in a minute, this will become a very big role in terms of progression. As you play through the game, there are many different missions and things you can do. You have the story mode, which is your main form. There are daily quests. There are side quests, there are bonus quests, there is the arena fight, there is alliance or guild-based content, and the game also features for some reason, a co-op roguelike mode, where 2 players will explore the same map. Now, the maps in Contest of Champions are very standardized in their design. They exist as essentially just a giant node tree. You want to go down each node. When there's an enemy or reward, you have to interact with it. Now, this becomes more advanced as you work your way up the game's difficulty paths. And again, there's a lot we're going to be talking about as we get deeper in. But for every chapter, side quest, whatever, you gain rewards based on clearing it for the first time, and then going down every single node on the map to 100%. This is very important, as this is where you're going to be unlocking the variety of content and additional items. And believe me, there is a lot here. Just about every single system has a different resource or resources that you can unlock and gain. You need healing potions. You need revival potions. You want to upgrade characters, you need signature stones. You also can get additional class-based experience. There are different items you need for ranking up or upgrading characters, and the list certainly goes on. Now, in order to power up characters, as we say, you need different resources, and this is where both the star rarity and the grinding comes in. The more stars, or the higher the star quality of a character, the more times that you can rank them up, which also means the more times you can level them up. Leveling up characters will improve their base stats. Now, of course, this becomes very important in terms of being able to stand toe-to-toe with many of the enemies. Now, when you pull for additional characters, duplicates are very important, because this allows you to unlock a character's signature power. The signature power is different for each character, and it's kind of based on their personality and so on, but it is oftentimes a special passive modifier that will change or enhance the behavior of the character in some way. Maybe one character will gain additional buffs. Maybe someone else will be able to do more damage, or they'll gain more from their basic attacks. Again, it's per character. And this is one of the things that I do like about this game. So despite every character having the same basic moveset abilities, how all this ties into the mythos of the character and their own abilities greatly varies. Some characters may gain special perk charges based on how many times they win in battle, how many times they use a special, and this lasts for the length of a mission. Other characters may do special kinds of damage, debuffs, buffs, damage over times, and so on. And this again gives a game a lot of mileage. Now, another aspect of this game that is very interesting, and that we really don't see live service and mobile games do, is that it ties progression and the store/monetization all intertwined. How this works is that each one of the game's story kind of chunks, and how the story works is that the story is broken down by books, which are then broken down to acts, which are then broken down into missions. So if you complete an entire act, you gain a new title. And what this title confers is that it enhances the free drops you get every 4 hours, it unlocks more stuff or better stuff in the store, and also gives you more free resources each day. So one of the kind of standing compliments I will give Contest of Champions is that it rewards you for exploring all of its content. Now, this is a very double-edged sword that we're going to come back to in the second half. But the game gives you a ton of resources. This is a title where completing all the advanced stuff will just literally give you free 5 and 6 star summons. Imagine that in an Arknights or a Genshin Impact, where beat an incredibly hard map or incredibly hard quest, and the game just says, okay, here's 3 5 stars and some 6 stars for you. Enjoy. But to get to that point, it takes a lot. And a lot of this is going to come down to both luck and skill. And sometimes the game sometimes wants to just screw you and say that you lose. Before we get to the second half, let's talk a little bit more about how the monetization works. So in this one, you have your premium currency in the form of credits. And credits can be used for literally everything in this game. And yes, that's going to come back in a big way in the second part. But if you want to roll in this game, there are different crystals. And these crystal summonings are how you get characters. There are those that are for specific star tiers. So you may get you can roll on a 2 to 4 crystal, or a 3 to 5, or just literally a 5 or a 6 star. Now, to get those specific ones, you need to collect these shards, and that is done through questing, through buying stuff in the store, etc., etc. Now, most crystals will have anywhere from a 2 to 5% chance for some of its content. Now, one thing that makes this very tricky is that there's multiple kinds of crystals, which means there's multiple kinds of rates and summoning. This is not the same as what we see for modern mobile games, where banners are very standardized in terms of their drop rates. Now, again, one of the reasons why you roll is that you're looking for duplicates and you're looking for better characters. A new feature that was added is a second kind of crystal known as a Nexus crystal. And what this does is that instead of just giving you like a huge roll of possible variants, it will just basically pick 3 champions at random and say, here's 3, pick the one that you want. And it could be a 3, a 5, 4, 6, it depends on the crystal itself. Now, as you play through the game, you do harder content, you'll get access to higher quality shards, which of course means that you'll have a greater chance on rolling on higher quality crystals. And the game is clearly designed around progressing from 1 to 2 star, to 3 to 4, to 4 to 5, and then 5 to 6. This is not a game where you're just going to immediately start and say, hit a banner, get my 6 star. And that is quite interesting in terms of progression, but it's how all this stuff is framed that really paints this game in a different light. Now, if there's anything else in terms of gameplay, there are other ways of progressing characters. There is the mastery system, which we will come back to in the second half, which should give you a pretty good idea of where this game falls. This game has had 8 years of content. That means 8 years of more side questing and more major events and minor events and more characters. But there has not been anything that has kind of been considered, I guess, a rule break. And what I mean by that is we haven't seen kind of like what we see with Arc Knights, with having altered version of characters, or in Azure Lane with introducing the UR class, or Dragon Ball Legends with the limited tier. It's been kept very standardized, for better or worse. But it is time. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, is Marvel Contest of Champions a pay-to-win game? As I want to spend a whole lot of time talking about these systems. But as always, if you're interested in my thoughts on design, especially my latest book on free-to-play monetization, then check these out. For entry-level students, we have 20 essential games to study, and then the Game Design Deep Dive series that takes an extensive look at different genres, with more coming soon. You remember in the first episode when I talked about Arc Knights, and I said it was going to be a very complicated process. There was a lot to talk about in terms of whether or not it was pay to win? Well, the good news is that this week it's far simpler. So instead of beating around the bush, is Marvel Contest of Champions pay to win? I'm going to say the answer is yes. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, 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 yes. I'm not looping this, by the way. I'm just doing this for comedic effect. Yes, 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 and yes. And yes, I do pad out the longer videos when they don't need it, and make the shorter videos even shorter. That's some effective YouTube marketing right there. The question here isn't whether or not Marvel Contest of Champions is pay to win. It's how it's pay to win. Because this is a very important point about how we look at monetization systems in games. There's a tendency from a lot of people to immediately jump to, does this game have microtransactions? It's immediately pay to win. Or, does this game give you free resources? Then it's immediately free to play, no questions asked. And what we need to look at is how these systems are being balanced and weighted towards the monetization. And when we come to games like Warframe and Path of Exile, we can see how these things are balanced. That it's not just about what you're selling or how much, but how the game is being twisted or tilted to incentivize those kinds of purchases, or punish you for not making them. And we actually have a lot to go through. So over this video, I may magically change shirts. You know, some strange, weird thing could happen there. We'll see. But let's start at the top with energy. This game is very demanded of the amount of energy it takes to do quests. As you go through the game, every node on a map that you travel is an energy cost, and that energy cost becomes progressively higher as you do higher tier content, starting at going from 1 per hit to, I believe the max is 3, although it could even be higher on some of the super later tier maps. I haven't gone that far. But if you want to get more energy, you have to spend for premium currency or hope you get an energy drop somewhere. One of my favorite little digs this game does is that for a few maps, you have a boss node. So you hit that node, you're done. But then there's one more node that you have to go to officially finish the quest. Nothing happens on that node. There's no rewards. It's just there to drain another anywhere from 6 to 18 minutes worth of your energy just to end a quest. One more detail, I almost forgot about this section. There's just so much that I had to do these multiple little edits in this video. But during the dailies that you can repeat for the various resources, your experience, and that kind of thing, the game gives you the option of playing them auto, so you'll have to do those maps. But there's a bit of a downside. Because for the autoplay takes more energy than if you were to just play it yourself. And that's another way that the game tries to drain your energy and also limit what you can do each day. But that's it, let's get back to the main video. And another interesting point. Once you start a quest, you cannot end it, or you cannot do anything else until you either finish or leave that quest. And this is definitely where we get to like the first major point about this game. It will try to sell you everything and anything in terms of premium currency and real money purchases. Literally every resource, every mechanic, every system in this game has a premium currency or real world cost associated to it. Leveling up characters. Well, if you don't have enough experience, you can buy more from the shop, or buy even just a fully ranked up character, or ranking your character up using premium currency. You want more healing and energy and all that? Spend some premium currency. You want to take more characters into the arena or recharge. How many times you can fight in the arena? Spend premium currency. Don't like rolls in your roguelike mode? Spend premium currency. I hope you're getting a pattern here. We interrupt this video with a message from future past Josh. Future from the recording of this video, but still past for everyone else. When discussing the monetization of the store, I forgot one big point. You see, when you get the kind of monthly subscription service for this game, the $9.99 one, you also get access to what's called the Black ISO market, which not only has exclusive purchasing options, but this is also where you'll be able to trade in an additional resource to be able to afford additional crystals, more of your resources that you need, and it is only available while you are subscribed. So, to put this in like an Arc Knights relation, this would be like if the certificate store could only be accessible if you bought the $4.95 a month purchase. And again, this is twice that. So, another example of where money is just buying you a straight advantage. Something else that past Josh is going to bring up later in this video. But that's it. So, Super Josh away. With everything being tied to monetization, you are given so many different marketing and advertisements. Better yet, this game features algorithmic or just generated ads for sales based on the content that you do. So anytime you get a good roll on a crystal, the game will give you a limited time offer. Hey, you weren't able to level up that character, you need to go farm? How about we just give you a limited time offer for some free currency? Did you just complete a very hard quest? Here's your reward, a limited time ad. And better yet, there are limited time ads where the marketing offer has a bonus limited time offer within its own limited time. So that if you buy it right now or within 45 minutes or an hour, you'll get an even better reward than if you would have waited later on. And yeah, that's a lot of chutzpah from the developer to put a system like that in this game. Now, as we dive in deeper, it's time to talk about how the game is balanced, or balance, I should say, around its loot box or its gacha. As I said in the last part, one of the things this game does very interestingly is that your progression is tiered to your stars. When you start playing this game, you're going to only be using 1 to 2 star characters. That 3-star character is going to be a pretty big bump. But then 3-star characters are going to be very much now out of fashion. So you need a really good 4-star. Then you're going to need a really good 5-star. And then, you guessed it, you're going to need a really good 6-star. And this is a very important point I want to talk about. For anyone watching this who either just started playing Contest of Champions, or maybe because you watched this video, you want to see what this game is all about and maybe even try and counter some of these points. When you start playing this game, it is very easy. It is ludicrously easy. If you have even a sliver of skill when it comes to fighting games and action games, you're going to be able to get through the early parts of this content like that. But you see, the challenge of this game comes in with its difficulty and how it's factored into the progression. When you're playing the main story, that is Book 1 and at this moment Book 2, the books themselves are going to move you through the game's kind of 5 different difficulty levels. And again, there are 5 right now, there could be more added in the future. I believe they are Normal, Heroic, Master, Uncollected, and Cavalier. And a few of those represent the different titles that you unlock, which is a major point. So as I said, the game will incentivize you to go up its difficulty by offering you higher quality rewards based on the difficulty that you play as. If you are playing a map or a side quest at like normal or heroic, you're probably going to get like 2-star, 3-star stuff, maybe a rare 4-star. You do the same map on a higher difficulty, like if you're playing on Cavalier difficulty, then you're probably going to be getting the best rewards in the game. You'll be getting enough shards to get free 5 and 6-star characters based on how well you can complete these maps. But you see, herein lies how this game really manipulates the player in terms of its difficulty. As you go up the difficulty of this game, certain things are being tweaked to make things harder. First off, the very obvious. The power levels that you're going to be fighting with enemies is going to get progressively higher. On the easiest difficulty, they could be 300 power, 500 power. At that level, just 1 4 or higher star character, you only need to level them up. They'll just beat those characters just on raw numbers. Then they'll start to get into the thousands, and the tens of thousands. And some of the super duper ultra late game kind of content, they'll just go through an enemy at you that's like 180,000 power. So good luck on that one. But it gets even more than that. The game introduces node buffs. As I said, the maps are designed around a series of nodes. You'll walk or glide or whatever you do normally, you'll teleport between nodes. Then nodes get buffed. And there's 2 kinds of buffs in this game. You have a local node buff and a global node buff. The local nodes are just attached to that node. Done. The global ones is basically this one node will power all the other nodes that it's attached to. Sometimes to the boss node. Take a drink every time I say node in this section, by the way. And you see, the buffs is where this game gets very interesting. Both good and bad. You have general buffs like plus attack. Enemy will block more. Maybe enemy will take less damage. Okay, yeah. Then there are these kinds of nodes. Enemy gains free power every few seconds. Every time enemy gains power or fills up a bar, they gain more damage. Every time they gain more damage, they'll gain passive regeneration. And you'll start to find these nodes where the buffs just feel like, like a child on the playground coming with more rules. I create a laser gun. I have this anti-laser shield. Every time I shoot my laser, I gain health. Every time I gain health, I become immortal. Every time I become immortal, I just kill you immediately. And it gets to the point where you're just sitting there going, what? What did you just do? So on one of these side quests I was doing, the nodes that they gave this character are, well, the character has passive power gain by normal. So first buff he gains is, I think it's like 50 or, no, it's double the power gain on his buff. Whenever he gains 2 bars of power, all of his special attacks now do 100% more damage, and he's increased attack and defense. So in 10 seconds, or less than 10 seconds, I'm not attacking this guy, he already has a level 3 special. And if you remember, level 3 specials are uninterruptible. They're undodgeable. You can't dodge a cutscene. So when the AI gets its level 3 special, they just basically say, okay, here's 60 to 70% of your damage. Bye. Go away, health. And this is where we start to see how these systems become very malicious. Enemy gets a free level 3 special, or they'll just do a lot of, some enemies have damage over times, and damage over times in this game are huge. You can go from 100% health, block an attack, gain a damage, or gain a dot. There goes 10 to 20% of your full health bar like that. You can't do anything about it. Unless you bring characters that have passive DOT immunities, and we'll come back to that point in a second. But every hit the enemy does on you, that's health that you're not going to get back, because health is persistent across a mission. Character gets knocked out, you have to heal them. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, you have to revive them first, and there's different tiers of revive potions, to then use different tiers of healing potions. Oh, and by the way, you can't farm a daily to gain these potions. You have to log on every 4 hours and claim your free crystal and hope that you get a new one. And that is another major point about pay to win. It forces you to log on consistently and constantly to get these rewards. So, as you keep fighting these maps, if you make it to the end of a map, you get killed, all your characters are dead, you have no more revival and healing potions, you have to back out, you lose all the energy that you gain, any rewards you picked up aren't given to you, any healing revival potions that you try to use to push yourself forward, they're entirely wiped. So losing a mission in this game makes you worse off than you were before you started it. And a few people comment on why we haven't seen more kind of like arcade style mobile games. I think this game is very much considered an arcade game because you can lose credits just by playing and not be able to complete these maps. But as we move forward, this gets really in deep in terms of how progression works and how character designs work. As we've said, the progression of this game is tied to the different star rarities. But it's not only that. There is a huge difference between bad, good, and God tier characters in Contest of Champions. One God tier character can take your account from here to here in a nanosecond. Because the best characters not only get to do more damage, but they have better and more interesting passives. You have characters who can be immune to poison or fire or anything like that. You have characters who can cause debuffs, gain power. And again, all the character designs are really well done. Until you realize that this is a game that is balanced on those characters. Do you remember when we talked about with Arc Knights and we said the game is balanced around the free characters? The additional characters are just there to give you more options. Here, it's not so much the case. If you don't get good characters, you really can't do a lot. And even the best characters, that doesn't make the game easy. That just tilts the scale. So maybe like you're here to it's like maybe like here. You're still not fully balanced. And as you play through, you're going to run into these situations where it just feels like I don't have the characters. I literally can't do this progress. And it's why that one really good character matters. You get a really strong 5-star as your first reward. That is huge. Because now you can punch higher. You can do the more higher quality content. Which in turn means that you get more reward, so you get more chances for better characters. You get another great character, now that makes you do even more. And as we've said, this game is very much incentivized to push you through that content and reward you for it. In a way, it's probably one of the best examples. It beats Arknights, Genshin, Azur Lane, any other modern mobile game, in that doing this stuff, pushing your account higher, gives you better stuff. It lets you do more in this game. There are more things to chase after, more stories to go for, more side quests. But to get to that point is very hard. It's damn near impossible as a free-to-play player unless you get really lucky or you know this game inside and out. I've watched a few streamers who do free-to-play challenges, and in 1 week, they can oftentimes do months worth of progress. But again, this is for someone who's been playing this game for years. They know exactly what content to shoot for, they know what things to unlock, and sometimes they just get lucky. And they get that really great 3-star, which then gets a really great 4-star, and again, we rinse and repeat. But you see, it's not just about that. This game is also very much weighted in terms of its combat system against the player. As I said a few minutes ago, you have the damage over times. You have enemies who, they don't even need to hit you with a normal hit. You can be blocking. They can still trigger their damage over times, and your health bar will just go down. Just like that. And unless you have a character who can have those passives, there's literally nothing you can do about it. Then you start getting introduced to characters who have unblockable attacks, or a node that gives their first hit in their special and unblockable. And even if you try to dodge it, and I want you to remember this dodge, I'm going to come back to this one in a few minutes, it still may not allow you to dodge that attack. Some specials, or it's kind of like one big hit, and then 5 to 10 little hits. So there's no way you can dodge those 5 to 10 little hits. You have to just eat that damage with a block. Well, if your character doesn't have enough stats for it, then the block just means they only lose 30% of their total health instead of 80%. And then we get to the AI. And this is where the game really began to lose me. When you play against the AI in Contest of Champions, it seems to have two distinct modes, almost like a carnival game where they let you win the easy one, then someone hits a button or flips a switch, and then you get the unfair one. So let's call this normal AI and super serious AI. The normal AI reacts much like a human opponent. You'll see them attack, they'll attack at normal speed, they'll try to use their specials. It feels very much like a grounded fight against 1 versus 1. But then the game turns on super serious mode. And when the AI goes super serious, not only does it seem to be able to read your inputs or read where your character is and respond accordingly, but it's sped up. And when I mean sped up, I mean that it will attack you and the enemy will lose animation frames. It's going so fast. So what I mean is, let's say I throw my fist out. I'm going to do it sideways. And let's say when the fist comes back to here, this is the recovery animation. Or this is when the animation is done, you can trigger another attack. So the enemy is attacking. And for a normal human, when you're attacking like this, your reaction time will probably be attack, attack, and attack. With the AI, it attacks like this. Attack, attack, attack. It's moving so fast that the game drops animations of how it moves. So it will kind of go like this. It will do an uppercut, and then the next frame, it's doing a down attack. And the next frame, it's doing a jump attack. And you can see this very plainly with any kind of agile character. So all these Spider-Man's men's, or however you want to define them, they will do that, where you're not seeing the transition animation from one attack to the next. You're just seeing attack, attack, attack. And not only is that a lot faster, and the AI is more reactive, but it makes it very hard for you to properly dodge or be able to track their attacks. Not only does it increase their speed, but also increases their speed of charging up their heavy attack. So they will go attack, 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 immediately go into a heavy attack, and you may not even be able to respond in time. Like, being able to respond on demand becomes next to impossible. And I'm watching the AI, and it is just basically able to counter everything that I do, because if I respond first, it is immediately reading my animation and attacking and countering it. And when you get to the higher enemy combos, or the higher enemy power levels, when they are just higher than you, one combo from them, that can be 30 to 60% of a character's max health bar white, just immediately, like that. And again, even if you survive that fight, you now need to spend your healing and revival potions if need be, which if you don't have any, you have to spend more premium currency for them. And again, you can see this kind of like carnival or carny rigging going on behind the scenes. And as I'm fighting these enemies, and all of a sudden they're attacking inhumanly faster, that's not really a fair fight. That is the game being tilted against the player. And more specifically, probably tilted against free players who don't have these stockpiles of potions and higher tier characters to compensate for it. And like I said, enemy keeps gaining more power. Once they hit their level 3 special, that's it. And one final point about the combat before I move on to the next point. This is a game that suspiciously, I'm noticing drop inputs when I'm playing. That sometimes I'll press the block button and my character doesn't block. I'll just tap a button and instead maybe we'll do the charge attack. Or sometimes if I try to do the charge attack, it doesn't recognize it. Now, this could be technical limitations, or could be a bug in the game, but this is the only game that I've been noticing this, with all the other mobile and live service games I've played on my phone. And as another really weird coincidence, when the game drops one of these things, the AI, especially on Super Serious Mode, tends to automatically capitalize on that. There are times where I will press and hold down the block button as the game starts or as a match starts. My block doesn't process. The enemy just hits me with a 5-hit combo and my character dies. Yeah, that was really fair. And it's time for a very dirty little secret about how the power levels and progression work. Once you get to the higher difficulties, I'm thinking maybe difficulty 3 and up, it is very unlikely that your characters are going to be able to meet or beat the enemy's power levels. What I tend to find, at least at the lower levels from what I've played, is that if the enemy's at least like 2,000 or more power above your character is in very dangerous levels of being killed within maybe 2 to 3 full combos, and a level 3 special will decimate them. And if you're trying to get them to power up, again, you are limited on the number of levels based on the rank. So there will come a point where a 3-star character is utterly worthless to you. Because unless you have super god tier level reflexes, what's going to happen is enemy gets one hit, you're dead. That's it. So you need to play that fight super perfectly to the point where it's just almost like a automated fight in that case. Because the second you let them gain any kind of special or the wrong special, you're dead. And this is where a lot of people will try and can punch up if they know this game inside and out. But that is not how you want to design a game for free players. And in terms of the amount of money I spent on Contest of Champions, I bought their kind of level up, you get free crystal rewards. I was debating getting their version of the monthly pass, but as I play the game, I just felt like this game doesn't deserve any more money from me. And I stopped playing, or I stopped spending money along those lines. So, with all these things stacked against the player, you may think to yourself, well, surely they don't sell you free bonuses and perks, right? Yeah, they do. This game literally has premium currency purchases for permanent buffs to your characters. Do you remember when I said those masteries a little bit a while ago? Well, once you get to level 6, I believe, and up, you unlock mastery points. You can also gain them for completing certain missions. The masteries are tied to 3 different passive perk trees: offensive, defensive, and proficiency, which I just butchered there. Now, some of these buffs are very simple. You gain more attack. Characters have more defense. They get more health. Okay, and they're only costing you the in-game gold. Then there are special nodes. And these special nodes unlock account-changing perks to your characters. A little bit while ago, I mentioned that you gain the ability to backstep, or your backstep can dodge attacks. Guess what? That is a premium currency purchase. If you don't buy dexterity, your characters do not gain iframes when they backstep. So this game charges you for your dodge ability. Just imagine playing a fighting game where they say, okay, if you want to use your EX meter, it's an additional $3. Yeah, that would really go over well with the FGC. Oh, and by the way, if you want to get even better passive perks, there's 3 tiers of things you have to buy. And not just one of them, you have to buy several copies. And if this is right, it costs, I think, like $6 sometimes to unlock a perk at the basic tier. And it gets progressively more expensive based on the perks. And some of these are very important, such as one that will give you just free 10% more damage, but you lose 0.6% of your health per second. But guess what? There's an additional perk you can buy that gives you 60 seconds of health regen. So you can cancel that out and just gain 10% more damage for free if you have enough money to buy it. And yes, the game does reward you with premium currency for completing maps for the first time, but we're talking like 10 to 12 credits, where the level 2 unlock, or the currency you need to buy for your masteries, is 180 credits a pop. So even with just this one system alone, this puts Contest of Champions into the pay-to-win territory instantly. And it kind of leads me to this final point, of this conclusion for this game. Marvel Contest of Champions pay-to-win elements not only are bad, but they definitely veer into unethical territory. And one of the things that I've talked about in my book and in a lot of the posts about monetization systems, it is fair for a developer to ask for money for the content that it makes. If it's a new character, a new cosmetic, a scarf, whatever. But when a game wants to demand all the money from you, that's a bridge too far. And Marvel Contest of Champions is clearly an example of this. Everything in this game is monetized in some way, shape, or form. And the game doesn't need to do that. There's no reason to punish players and expect them to pay you more money to be punished some more. This is a game that, again, that is 8 years old at the time of recording this video. It was made very much during the second generation of mobile games. But as we've seen with how mobile has evolved over the last 4 years in particular, If any game tried to do these exact systems in their mobile design today, they would be laughed off the store. Because people have grown wise. And I don't quite get why or how this game is still going, despite all these systems. And as I said at the start of the section, there are people who will try and defend this game as free to play because of all the rewards and bonus stuff you get. But again, herein lies the problem. Marvel Contest of Champions is a game that is explicitly balanced on its best characters. To bring this back to Arknights, imagine if a map challenged you with, in order to do damage to, the boss, you must be able to attack at least 5 enemies simultaneously, doing at least 800 points of damage. Now, for everyone who plays Arknights, your mind just probably immediately went to, well, that's Silver Ash right there. And you see, that's the sneakiness of Contest of Champions. It will never just come out and say, oh, you need a really good 4-star mutant, or you need to have this, this, and this. It will just basically design and give the AI these advantages. That will basically say, well, you don't have a counter to this, you're dead. You can't win. And again, if you go up against an enemy who just gives you free damage over time every few seconds, if you don't immediately have the defense or the immunity to it, the character is going to die. Or they'll be put in a position where they're so weak they can't be used. So you then have to spend more resources. And if you don't have those potions anymore, well, you have to spend premium currency. Oh, and I did mention this. In terms of the other things that you can buy or acquire, there are boosts. You can get free experience boosts, or boosts that will literally raise the power level of your character for an extended amount of time or a limited amount of time. Again, the number of ways and things that this game will sell you is just extreme. And going back to the free-to-play argument, there is this wall in terms of your progress in Contest of Champions. To get past this wall and be able to access all the higher level content, get all the higher level rewards, you need, again, just one really good character. But to get to that requires you to either get really lucky or spend a lot of money. And for the people, and I'm sure, just like with Arknights, we're going to get people who will come in and defend this game. They have probably been playing this game for 3, 4, 5, maybe even from launch in terms of the years of it. For them, they have either spent money or they've acquired enough free resources to get those lucky drops. They have pushed past that bubble. But if you're a new player starting out and you don't get lucky, and you don't get those great characters, that's it. Like, you can't really do more. There's only so far that you can punch up with a good 3-star, even a good 4-star character. All of a sudden, when a character can just kill you without even touching you, their passives are so strong that they just kill you outright. You can't do anything about that. If the enemy just gets free level 3 specials, you can't dodge, roll, or block a cutscene. There is even one character, or a few characters, who can go cloak or intangible, who can actually just shrug off this damage, which is really great. But, again, what's the chance that you're going to get that as a free player? And it's all this stuff that is just compounded on itself that just really makes this game unethical. Not free to play or pay to win, it's unethical to play this game in terms of its monetization. And I also want to point out something else. For a game that is 8 years old, and for any long-time people who play this, please correct me if I'm wrong about this, there's very little growth in terms of new systems and content. When I look at a game like Arknights or Azure Lane or especially Genshin Impact, there is literally new content and new systems that have been added in. I've tried this game on and off over the last 4 or 5 years. It feels the same as when I played this back in 2017, as it does when I play it now in 2022. it doesn't feel like anything has been done to improve the pain points or even, dial back some of the monetization. And again, it's a game that if you can make it past that bubble, there is tons and tons of content and rewards and challenges for you. But if you're a new player, if you've played any other free-to-play mobile game over the last 4 to 5 years, this one just feels like it goes back to that era of the game being tilted against you in order to make you spend money. When I play a game like Arknights and I lose a map, I can try another strategy. I can do something else differently. Here, it just feels like the game just put up this wall and said, hey, you don't have a good enough character? Get the hell out of here. You're done. Go farm, you peasant. How dare you try and do this? Maybe I should talk to my fans like that going forward. And I was actually, as a moment of just trying to spite this game, I was going to go make a big purchase in Arknights and get one of their, it was like the half-year anniversary, get a free 6-star out of 3. But I already had a lot of those 6 stars in those bundles. I didn't really want to risk it. I got more free stuff and better free stuff from Arknights than I wanted to, I wanted to give them money, but I didn't have anything I was worth to spend it on. Where in this game, by the way, they will, again, let you buy anything. At the time of recording this video, they were offering you God tier characters, free 5 stars, or just a 5-star purchase, at $99 a pop. Let that sink in for a second. I may have to apologize to Arknights when they said they were going to charge me $30 for a free 6-star. This game was charging me $99 just for a 5-star character. And they will, again, come up with all kinds of deals and FOMO just to try and get you to spend money. And they'll give you different rewards and different currencies, and all of it is just confusing, which is to the point, and it's all traps for free players who don't know what they need to invest in. And again, this game doesn't need all this monetization. This is not a game that deserves all your money, but it very well tries to do that. So, with that said, we're going to wrap up this episode. So again, let me know what you think in the comments. Do the liking and subscribing. If there's any mobile or live service games you want me to tackle for a future episode, let me know. And be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon link down below and come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where some of the art and science of games. Until next time, take care.